Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks. Celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Bunch of taskmasters around here, man. Gee whiz. Fancy Friday. Happy Fancy Friday to all of you and yours. I'm just having a conversation with the sales guru, Ethan Way. I'm trying to maybe hook up, and we're going to go to Vegas together and get arrested. And, Joe comes up running out of his office. Oh, your theme's on. It's like, my theme is on. Like I have to come in here and do a show. I'm like, no, I'm talking to Ethan about going to Las Vegas. Come on. We're just actually on a little earlier these days, and so just so you guys know, I always let my theme go a little bit, but when the boss is like, hey, your theme is on, I'm like, oh, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's not like but I want to come in here because I want to talk to you because it is a Fancy Friday, and it's the Allman Report. It's the 3-martini lunch. It's Common Sense Radio. It's all those things. So I'm here. Ashton's over there. And just as an aside, by the way, so we have, when we start the show, there's a screen, right there. And then it is a blank. It's like a screen that's not me. And then Ashlyn says, "Let me know when you want me to transition you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." It means something different, these days. But yeah, and we were just joking about that. Anyway, happy Fancy Friday. We are heading into Super Bowl weekend. And by the way, Dr. Keith Ablow is going to be joining me a little later on to talk about the Trump RX, which is pretty groovy, you got to say. And then also a little later on, I'm going to tell you about how it turns out, all the numbers aside now, that immigrants to this country far exceed Native Americans in their use of welfare. And this is really getting intolerable in this country. And now apparently we're just simply a vessel for a bunch of foreigners they're like barnacles on a whale now. And except the barnacles don't eat the whale up. They just take the ride. These people are eating us up, aside from taking the ride. So it's pretty intolerable. But going into Super Bowl weekend, I wanted to touch base with the Allman Report sports guru, the master of all things sports. His name is Lou Tevlin. Integrity Sports is where it's at. He's a great guy and a good friend of mine, joining us from beautiful California. How you doing, brother?
Very good, Jamie. Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah, I know. I've never
Viva
been there.
Las Vegas and transitioning. Is that what I got from the Open?
Yeah, I've never been to Vegas. I actually would love to go to Vegas.
Really?
That's one place I've never been. I've always wanted to go, just because, you know.
Yeah, it's fun. They actually one thing that's really cool up there is all the old neon signs from the Sinatra era, the Rat
Yeah.
Pack era. There's actually a neon museum,
Oh,
neon sign museum there that gives tours, and they do it at night. All
wow.
the Stardust and all those cool signs from back in the
Yeah.
50s and whatnot, you can walk through them and see them up close in person.
Oh man, I'll definitely do that. Is the Sands still around? My favorite.
No, I think that's
Oh really?
yeah.
Wow, because
I think the MGM Grand, what's the one with the big fountains? I think it's the MGM Grand.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
Well, Live at the Sands, as you know, is my favorite Frank Sinatra
yeah,
album, and
yeah.
with Count Basie, and yeah, it's great. And Quincy Jones arranged
Well,
it. Yeah.
Speaking of Las Vegas, and the Super Bowl, and how the NFL's in bed, like other leagues now, with gamblers.
Yeah.
Although players can't gamble, of course. Only owners can make money off that. From a sports business standpoint, I read a quote from executive vice president of the NFL who had this statement. There's DraftKings and those type of gambling apps and organizations, and then there's broadly speaking, the prediction market, which is everything from elections to other things going on in the economy and the world markets. Well, the NFL said they're examining the prediction markets to see about ethics. And for those that don't know, the prediction markets it's an emerging technology, and it's actually, to me, it's much more sophisticated. It's more organic. It's market driven, which we love, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically you do contracts, and let's say you do a contract on whether the Patriots or the Seahawks would win, why you get $1 for each contract and $0 if you lose. It's a more contract market driven, sophisticated way of anticipating the prediction rather than going up against the noted gamblers and who knows who makes these the bookies that make the odds on the other side. So, but for the NFL to talk about, they're not going to look at the prediction markets right now because of they have ethical concerns. Ethical concerns. The NFL, the same group of owners who took a vote to keep the Rams in St. Louis and said, "Yeah, keep them in," and then when Jerry Jones and Kroenke didn't like that outcome, they went into a secret meeting, unanimous vote, and all of a sudden, boom, the Rams can move. Don't talk to me about ethics.
I was there. I saw all that happen. I was there in Dallas or Houston. I can't remember where it was, and it was Houston, and it was terrible. But Lou, speaking of the NFL, so now that we're on to more of the newser topics about it, and we'll get to the actual Super Bowl contest down the line here. Roger Goodell, I put this on the show earlier in the week when he was talking about how the NFL needs to do a better job when it comes to diversity, responding to the lack of black guys getting hired to coach NFL teams this time around. And he goes, we need to improve on that. I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe the black coaches need to improve. I mean, NFL teams aren't going to hire somebody just based on wokeness or diversity, hopefully not. And so if you're good and you're a black coach, you're going to get hired. If you're not, you won't, right?
Right. What would the NFL players on a team, black or white or green for that matter, what would they say if Mike Tomlin, for example, stepped down after I think 15 or 16 years as the Steelers coach?
Yeah.
He happened to be black and happened to be very good. What if they said, well, you must hire a black coach to replace him? That would be tokenism, right? That would be affirmative action. That would be woke.
Yeah.
DEI. Right. That's actually what it would be. Ironically, the Steelers owner, Art Rooney, there's an Art Rooney rule that said teams have to interview black candidates, whether they're deserving of the position or they're ready for the position or not. That's already part of the rule. So for Goodell to talk about anything regarding, they already have that institutionalized. You have to interview black ones or get fined.
Wow.
So, yeah. That's been around for 20 years. The Art Rooney Rule.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of unfortunate things because as pro athletes, as I represented pro athletes and covered pro athletes, you know, what I used to tell them is, even when BLM was, blossoming and dominating and extorting corporations nationwide, I told my young players, I said, don't listen to the media on this stuff, okay? The only color you need to worry about is green, because your window of opportunity of making green is very narrow, and you have to stay focused on that. And BLM doesn't care about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about black. They don't care about what. They care about their own extortion. They were self-proclaimed. I'm not saying this. They were self-proclaimed trained Marxists. So they had a different agenda, and I tried to tell that to my young players. And to your point about tokenism, I think that's ridiculous. And for Goodell to talk about that is just crazy.
Yeah, he's kind of a squish, and I've talked to you about this, and someday we're going to have to actually. I don't know. You could probably write a book about it or something because of the way Black Lives Matter affected your work.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like a different formulation of COVID. COVID destroyed a lot of things, a lot of businesses, and indeed, even to a certain degree, a lot of people. And Black Lives Matter did the same thing. These things that pop up as these kind of different forms of societal cancers can be really damaging, and people sometimes don't even have any idea how bad it is.
To your point, who knows the name of the owner of that AutoZone that got torched, the first place that got torched on the George Floyd riot?
Right.
That guy, his reward for staying in the hood, providing the auto parts, because low-income people can't just go out and buy a new car. They need parts, and that guy stayed in it. His reward was to get his building burned to the ground.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, look at Ferguson.
Yeah,
Ferguson was the same thing. There's so many great restaurants and things like that there. And, I know that a lot of them still stayed strong, but Ferguson was a really great community, still is. But, yeah, had a big impact on that.
Did that. I think the NFL ought to take a cue from society. We're past that. The jig is up, so to speak. They've been exposed, and America's waking up to a whole new, hopefully, golden era. And I think we can credit, just as we blasted previously, the Bud Light commercials with the transitioning person. This year, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but there's the Super Bowl ad for Anheuser-Busch Budweiser.
Yeah.
Features a Clydesdale.
Yeah.
And it says their slogan on it is "Made of America," and it features a Clydesdale Colt. And I don't know if they're out in Boonville at the Clydesdale farm there or somewhere else, but it's a really good commercial featuring Leonard Skinner, and I'll just say a Clydesdale with wings.
Oh,
I think it.
And what is made of? What's the significance of made of America instead of made in America?
Well, because Anheuser-Busch isn't world headquarters in St. Louis
anymore.
Right.
It's
Belgium and Brazil.
Right.
InBev.
Okay, got you, man. I sorry, I'm slow learner here.
Okay.
But what's funny is it's that even so as we get into the Super Bowl, and you have this crap singer who's going to be doing the halftime show, Bad Puppy, who isn't even American. It's like and famously during the Grammys did the F Ice thing, and I hope the NFL had the common sense to tell him maybe you want to keep your fat mouth shut just this once so that we could have a decent, wholesome, American Super Bowl without any politics in it.
Well, that's not going to happen because it's the NFL and they have their agenda tied closely to Madison Avenue. So they may tell him not to say that, but who knows what comes out of his mouth. And they won't take any responsibility if he does say something stupid like that.
Yeah, right.
I think America will vote with the tuners.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're going to tune. I think this is going to be a low-rated Super Bowl, and there will be a deep decline at halftime. I think they'll be turning on Turning Point USA
Yeah.
or the Puppy Bowl or whatever other options, or here, go to the beach for a little while.
Yeah.
Just it's been warm. The Santa Ana winds. I don't know if you saw Torrey Pines last week with the PGA. Beautiful. So there's things to do
Yeah.
other than watch that clown in a dress. He said he's gonna wear a dress. I understand.
Yeah,
So,
right, exactly. So,
just not reflective of where America is. They're missing the mark and they can't read the room.
yeah. So, one quick thing, because I did something about this on Facebook when Belichick was not installed in the Football Hall of Fame this time around, and then I realized, and I thought, what is it? Is it jealousy? Is it this? Is it that? Is it the supposed scandals or cheating or whatever? And it turns out a guy named Gregorian or Vahe Gregorian.
Vahe Gregorian used to work for the Post.
Yeah. So he used to work for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and he wrote an article, I think he's in Kansas City now, about why he didn't vote for Belichick, and it had nothing to do with a cheating scandal or anything. He said there were three guys on the list, and this was their last year to get voted in. Otherwise, they'd never get in.
You know what? That sounds like a Rick Hummel move. A classier, more historic, big picture look. No question, Belichick's going to go in. And congratulations to Vahe, who covered Mizzou for years and everything in St. Louis, for stepping up and explaining why he voted and taking the slings and arrows, because he's right. Those guys. We just lost Sonny Jurgensen, the great quarterback for the Redskins for all those years in Washington last night or this morning.
Oh, he died?
91 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Sonny Jurgensen. Oh, he's in my era.
So this is like a historical perspective for Vahe. As I used to tell my players, there's only one undefeated man in the history of sports, and that's Father Time. So you better make the opportunity while the window's there, and then Vahe thinking historically and big picture for these guys that actually deserve it to get in. And by the way, the NFL Hall of Fame, they have actual classes go in every year, where the MLB is much tougher. They have 1 or 2 or 3 or 0. And so, there's plenty of opportunity for Belichick ahead.
Yeah.
I can't, when I think of the Patriots, and by the way, it should be a good game. I think, it should be a good game. But when I think of the Patriots, I think of St. Louis because of, the kind of leadership we used to have in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Like James Bush Orthwine. I remember interviewing him in his office there on Brentwood in Clayton, that Barry Wayne Miller building, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was in there. He bought the Patriots as a stopgap in case the NFL screwed St. Louis on the expansion, which of course they did. They gave it to Charlotte and Jacksonville instead of Charlotte and St. Louis. So Orthwine had this golden ticket in his back pocket. He owned the Patriots. But when the Rams, when Georgia Frontier wanted to come to her hometown with the Rams, he went ahead and sold it to Robert Kraft. And so I think of, what could have been if the Patriots had moved to St. Louis.
I know. That would have been great. I got to tell you, I know people get mad at me for doing this, but, I was really hoping the Rams would go to the Super Bowl again. And also, I still like the Cardinals, only because this time now the Arizona Cardinals, because they haven't changed that helmet. And that cardinal on the helmet is like my childhood right there. And so
that's right.
I still like those. I still like that team.
I do too. In fact, I was hoping the Rams made it too, because former Georgia Bulldog Matthew Stafford, who won the MVP last night at the NFL Awards, at 37, was out there with his 4 daughters on stage. It's beautiful. At 37, wins the MVP and announced that he's coming back next year because the Super Bowl is at SoFi in LA. So that'd be cool. I'll be rooting for him to end up in the Super Bowl next year. And I root for, Cup. Cooper Kupp, who was a Rams wide receiver,
Yeah.
and now he's in Seattle. I root for guys more than teams,
Yeah.
typically. But I hate Kroenke and what he stands for, but I still like some of the guys on the Rams and wish that Stafford had the chance to do it. But I'm glad he won the MVP. But if you want, if I know, on this show especially, everybody, there's parallels between Trump and Seattle quarterback Sam Darnold. Sam actually grew up the road in San Clemente in Orange County. If you recognize San Clemente, that was Richard Nixon's Western White House at that time. Well, Sam Darnold got drafted in New York and got trashed. He's a bum. They ran him down to nothing, and then had a comeback with the Vikings, and then look at where he is now in the Super Bowl. So I'm rooting for him to do well, and I think it. But then again, like I said, I think it's going to be a low-rated game.
Yeah, that's true. I was more inclined to root for the Patriots only because Seattle bothers me as a city. But maybe if this guy's cool, I've noticed too. And one quick thing, because I know you have to go, but I've noticed a lot. I love this. When I was watching all the playoff games and everything else, there was something very, very consistent going on with the players. And I'm not quite sure whether that's different than it was 10 years ago, whatever. But they all mentioned, most of them, giving glory to God after they won. And it was really pretty amazing to me, because it was all live, because when ESPN or somebody else replayed the sound bites, all glory to God was not in there. But still, I was really pleased. It really was great to see. I mean, almost across the board, these players who were the stars who were interviewed all thanked God gave credit to God for their talents.
Well, I love that, and I think it speaks to where the culture is. We're going full circle in our conversation here, and where what Charlie Kirk and others have done, and what the way the country has changed in the last 4 years or 2 years, especially. We're in a different place, in a place that's more recognizable to the vast amount of Americans.
Yeah, really crazy. Well, Lou, listen, man, you're the best. Such a great friend. Appreciate you so much. Always pray for your good health, and hope to see you soon at some point. I missed the chance to get out to San Diego in January.
You'll be out here soon.
Yeah, I will be out there soon because I got to see my baby Lila, so we'll do that. But I appreciate you. Integrity-sports.com. Lou, thanks so much, and talk to you soon, brother.
Thanks much. Love you, man. Love St. Louis. God bless.
God bless you, too. That is the great Lou Tevlin, people. Yes, indeed. And this is a Fancy Friday. Coming up, I got to tell you, Peter Schweitzer is absolutely on fire regarding what illegal and legal immigrants, some of them, are doing to this country. Not only doing to the country, but also taking from it. So I'm going to regale you with that. And Don Lemon is running his mouth again, so we'll talk, this time talking about how Christian he is. The racist Antifa terrorist talking about how Christian he is. Great. And then, of course, Dr. Keith Ablow going to be on with me in just about an hour to talk about Trump RX. Common Sense Radio.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you are thinking about retirement, or maybe you're already in retirement, the fact of the matter is my friends at the Gemini Wealth Group are going to be there for you to make it super easy and make your golden years just awesome. so that you have the long-term planning, you have the backing of a team of investment gurus, retirement gurus. And so people are living 20, 30, sometimes even 40 years after their retirement. So it's a really huge thing. I mean, that's good news, right? But it can also be bad news if you don't have people on your side to help you plan and to make ends meet so that you're not checking the folds of the couch when you're 85 years old for extra change to pay the rent. So here's how it works. You have your portfolio, maybe you have your 401k or whatever other things you have, and you can bring it all the paperwork and everything else to the Gemini Wealth Group. You'll meet with one of them, but eventually you're going to have 5 of them, the team members who are guiding your retirement and making it as successful as possible. These are 5 people who have more than 100 years of experience combined just in portfolio management, wealth management, retirement management, everything else. So you're having 5 different brains who are putting together a great plan for you and giving you that permission you need sometimes to go ahead and pull the trigger and retire and enjoy those golden years. And the Gemini Wealth Group, strong supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio. I appreciate the fact that all of you, a lot of you have actually contacted them. That's why they said, hey, we're with the Allman Report for all of 2026 also. That's how thrilled they are to be part of this show and part of your world. The GeminiWealthGroup.com, the GeminiWealthGroup.com.
John Beal knows that right after a hailstorm, new roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
There's only one place you can get pizza cooked over coals. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield Valley. Of course, Napoli Brothers has a great selection of pasta dishes. Between the pizza and pasta, trust me, you will not leave hungry. Then, a few doors down, Lit Cigar Lounge, a wide variety of quality cigars, each offering a unique smoke. That cigar, some premium whiskey, all you need to do is enjoy. Lit Cigar Lounge and Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, Chesterfield Valley.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Hey, want to make a bet on Sunday's game, Super Bowl? I can say that. This is a news commentary, not a sales pitch. It is a betting pitch. Does that make me in violation? Never mind. I'll tell you about the bet in a moment. But first, the guy had put together a list of NFL demands for any city that wants to host that game. First, obviously, the NFL sets ticket prices, and each host city has to have 3 championship-level 18-hole golf courses, 2 top-quality bowling alleys, provided free of charge for charity events. Also, the NFL must get at least 50% of all luxury suites. And if you're planning to fly your private jet into San Jose Airport, landing costs range from $10,000 to $20,000. That's just to land, depending on the size of your jet. Okay, here's the bet. In all these years, no punt has been returned for a touchdown. Not one. Want to bet if that record stands or falls? Or are you still trying to figure out how to pay to land at the airport?
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL. free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get ready to go crazy right here.
Good afternoon and happy Fancy Friday, people.
I'm a real bad liar. I'm a burnt toast kind of guy. Or if I try to build a fire, I'll burn the woods.
Common Sense Radio here.
Shaker can't keep up with the pacer. Never met a dance floor that ever did me any good.
And it's the 3 martini lunch, too, so. For some reason, I kind of go on kicks, And so I've kind of gotten into, you guys know how I enjoy tequila, but I decided, because what was happening is I was like having some kind of like weird heart things going on, like fluttering and all that kind of stuff, and probably a little caffeine. And then I was realizing that I don't know how I could get into these things sometimes. I had to do some troubleshooting, and I was like I go to the Missouri Athletic Club pretty much every single day and work out, do whatever. Sometimes I just do a steam and a sauna, But I realized that in doing that, in purposely just sweating and doing all that kind of stuff, I was kind of dehydrating myself. And, my potassium levels were way down and all this kind of stuff. And so I wasn't, and wasn't getting enough salt and everything else. And so I figured that, and I changed up a little bit. And then I realized, olives are salty. And I think if I just have a martini with 4 olives in it every night, then I'll get my potassium levels back up. So that's what I'm doing. It's both fun and healthy. It's rejuvenating, as well as brain cell killing. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm also, you guys knew I was also on the fish kick, right? So I am eating a bunch of herring and mackerel and white anchovies and stuff like that. I'm really loving that part of it. It's really good. And garbanzo beans, because I got to get my cholesterol levels down. I need to talk to Dr. Keith about that and see whether or not he could give me because what happened is, what was going on, I'll just tell you what was going on. So what was going on is, do old people do this all the time, just talk about their ailments? But it was weird, because over the past week or so, because of that, I was like freaking out about it. I was like, I probably have heart disease or something. And so I saw my doctor, Dr. Chris, who's a great guy, Dr. Chris Hispana. And I had to go get blood tests and all this kind of stuff. And I got the blood test done because my cholesterol levels were high the last time. And I've got a really high, good cholesterol, but I have other high cholesterol as well, like the bad stuff too. The good cholesterol level is actually hereditary. So, my mom had high cholesterol, all that kind of stuff. And so it was high. So what Dr. Chris was worried about is, hopefully there hasn't been any plaque developing in your heart or whatever else as a result of the cholesterol levels. And so I had to go get a heart scan. And I got the hearts, and I was really worried about that because I was thinking, it's going to come back, and I've got like a clogged artery, so that open heart surgery or something all of a sudden. And then it turns out it was fine. So, but I still have to get my cholesterol levels down, so I'm figuring out ways to get my cholesterol levels down, and that's one of them is garbanzo beans. That's apparently one of the ways that you can do that. And I was eating a lot of eggs. I mean, I don't know. They say that eggs aren't bad for you anymore, but I do take the yolks out and just eat the white part. All right, let me get to this really quickly. That's enough about me. So this is disturbing, and it comes from the Center for Immigration Studies. It's a newly released analysis of immigrant-headed households. And more than half of immigrant-headed households are on one or more forms of taxpayer-funded welfare, far surpassing the welfare use of native-born American households. And this is disturbing because it's a lot different than it was. You know, people are like, we're a nation of immigrants. It's like, that's true. But, for instance, the immigrants that came here, like my ancestors from Germany in the 1600s, and Vic Porcelli was talking about this today, his Italian heritage. Well, his ancestors, when they came here, and the Bononi's from the Freddie's Market, they were talking about that too. So when they came here as immigrants, they didn't automatically go on public assistance. Well, when the Italians and Germans came here, there was no such thing because there wasn't a federal income tax, where the federal income tax was basically just stealing money from our paychecks and redistributing it. That's what's going on right now. But those immigrants, when they came here, didn't have their hand out. They made their own way. They made it their own way. Now, the immigrant situation with us is that they're coming over here, and then we're automatically writing them checks. What the hell is that all about? And it's not acceptable. And there's no requirement. And I don't know why, but there's no requirement. I mean, Mexico has this requirement. You've got to actually have money to. If I wanted to become a Mexican citizen, I would have to have a job and prove that I was going to contribute to society, not take from it. But our laws, no, we don't have any requirement whatever for that. And so, you know, when we talk about the SNAP benefits and we talk about all this other stuff, well, you know, having them work for it is the least that we should be doing. But I don't think there should be anybody who is made a citizen here without resources or money, and then when they can't prove that they have resources or money. I mean, every other country, I'm pretty sure about this. Every other country, Denmark especially, for instance, they have rules for immigrants. You have to actually prove that you're going to be an asset to the country. But this analysis is deeply disturbing, and we've got a bunch of foreigners coming here, supposedly because of this. You know, you hear Mark Kaysen talk about Statue of Liberty. It's like, oh gosh, really? These guys all come in, and then we just simply and we set them up with housing, government checks, all that kind of stuff. I mean, already when you talk about the housing crisis and Scott Bessent, you know what I've been doing for a while? I've been calling him the Commerce Secretary for some reason. He's the Secretary of the Treasury. Anyway, so my apologies for being wrong about that in the past. I just realized that. But, you know, they're taking up housing, a lot of it public housing and everything else, that is really stressing the housing market. J.D. Vance was right about all this. And so I don't know when we're going to finally, and now you know why, you know, there's so much, the Democrat Party is so hell-bent on destroying ICE and keeping the border open and not deporting people and all that kind of stuff. It's because that's exactly was their scam. And I think Republicans did it too, unfortunately. But that was exactly their scam, where they would get people over here and then immediately, you know, set them up with homes and paychecks from the taxpayers and everything else, and then register them to vote, and then they owe the country. They owe the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party made it possible for them to just do nothing but siphon off the country. It's not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. Let me, and when it talks about Republicans, let's not get too fancy about this because Republicans are part of the problem. Listen to Maria Salazar. She's a Republican, and this is what she had to say about deportations.
But don't touch the nannies or the gardeners or the ones who are picking up the jalapeno peppers or the oranges or the berries or the ones in the dairy houses. Come on. Those people are helping us eat better, cheaper homes, cheaper vegetables, and better fruits.
Yeah, that's such crap. This, I mean, how can you possibly, in this Olympian rhetorical mess that Salazar is putting forth, how could you possibly say with a straight face that illegal aliens are making us healthier because they're picking berries? Are you kidding me? And by the way, what person hires an illegal alien to be a nanny to take care of their children? Who does that? Apparently, a lot of these plastic faces like Salazar and all the others out in California and all the highfalutin lib women and everything else, they have the illegal aliens taking care of them because it's cheap. The nanny taking care of their children. They're trying to save a few dollars. They don't want to spend too much on their children because they have to get their nails done, right? Yeah, you have to go for your Botox squirts, so you don't want to spend too much money on those grubby little babies of yours. Meanwhile, Peter Schweitzer, who has written that book, The Invisible Coup, he's been just blockbuster on this, and he says that the U.S., and we've talked about this before, the U.S. has to close these Mexican consulates because they are the ones who are stroking a lot of these anti-ICE protests.
When you seal the border, you also, in my opinion, have to try to tackle these political networks. In the case of Mexico, that's these consulates, 53 of them. The UK and China have 6 and 7 respectively. Mexico has 53. They're part of this political network. But
and why are there 53 Mexican consulates in the United States of America compared to 7 UK consulates in the United States of America? What's that all about?
Mexico's also infringing on our sovereignty because they actually have elected senators and members of their Congress, the Mexican Congress, that live in the United States. They go and they serve in the Congress, but their job is to represent Mexicans living inside the United States. That is a massive intrusion on our sovereignty. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, of course they do. And our politicians are letting it happen. And let's move on to the Chinese. He talked about how a lot of these people, like especially with China, they're coming over to the United States. They're having babies here. And the babies are automatically citizens. They go back to China. The parents of the baby do after the kid grows up. Once the kid turns 21, they apply for the citizenship of their parents to come over here because they're citizens. So they're American citizens. They go back to China. They're schooled at all the commie schools and everything else over there. And then once they turn 21, they all come over here. Schweitzer talks about how he's found 107 Chinese surrogacy agencies in California alone that the Chinese use to game immigration laws.
The Chinese government and Chinese research firms believe that roughly 1 million Chinese babies have been born in the United States over the last 13 years and are being raised in China. Those are the birthright ones. The surrogacy ones, we have no numbers for. But 2 quick data points. Number one, Wall Street Journal had a front page story 5 or 6 weeks ago about a Chinese billionaire close to the Chinese government that he himself had more than 100 children who were born in the United States this way that are U.S. citizens. So some of these guys are really scaling it up and creating basically an army of people that are going to be U.S. citizens being raised in China. And we found, and I report this in the book, that just in Southern California, we found 107 Chinese-owned surrogacy businesses that are offering these services in China to come to the United States and have this done. So that's a problem that we don't even know the scale of.
Yeah. Hey, this is unbelievable how that has to end, and in some way, shape, or form, we have to get a handle on this. And I don't know. I hope the Trump administration is listening, because there's a lot of work to do to make sure that this just absolutely ends. Don Lemon is mouthing off again. You know he's more Christian than you, right? Okay, just so you know. Mm-hmm. This is a fancy Friday. It's Common Sense Radio. The Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I'm really good at. You thought I was over? Oh, my, I'm such a lucky guy. You got me tongue-tied like Jekyll and Hyde. I'm coming undone. I'm born to run. I got my shades on. Here comes the sun. Oh, cotton picking, my tick-tock's ticking. I love, I'm stricken. I'm flip-flop flipping. I'm about to cuss. Son of a bus. I can't stop singing. I'm having way too much fun.
News Talk STL.
First thing in the morning and pretty much all day.
Live and local. 101.9 and 94.1. News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here for Newsteader's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. WowDiamonds.com. It's Wow Diamonds for a reason. These are beautiful lab-grown diamonds. They are gorgeous. They will blind you when you walk in and see them, but that's a good thing. Great engagement sets, wedding sets, all these beautiful God-created gems, sapphires, rubies, you name it, garnets, and also all the gold you need, and the famous bull of a watch, WowDiamonds.com.
They served our country with honor. Now it's our turn to serve them. Join the freedom13.org for an unforgettable gala honoring America's heroes, February 27th at the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles. A special evening supporting Freedom 13's bold mission, 50 camps in 50 states on more than 50,000 acres, building 650 homes for veterans, police, and their families. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available now. Visit thefreedom13.org. That's thefreedom13.org.
Hey there, News Talk STL family and friends. This is your financial friend, Chris Cooper, here with Serenity Wealth Management with a special invitation to join us this weekend for the Serenity Wealth Now show. Joining us in the studio, we've got Kyle Dent of Shamrock's Pub and Grill out in St. Peter's. We're going to talk a little bit about the community aspect that makes ownership of a bar and grill successful. So tune in right here, Sunday morning, 9 a.m., News Talk STL or Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Fancy Friday. And Ashley was just... I thought it was fake, but it's not. So she's pointing to the TV, and she's like, "Are you going to get that?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, It's McNuggets. It's caviar for McNuggets. And it comes in a tin, and it's got the McDonald's arches on it and everything. What the heck? Plus, I'm a fish fan, but I never could figure out caviar. It's like, what could possibly be good about that? You know what I mean? And how expensive? I think they said it was like $100 or something. So you're supposed to put the caviar on your McNuggets. I mean, what are these people doing? Golly. I really, there aren't a lot of foods that I really don't like. And there are certain ones that I just avoid. And caviar would be one of them. I really don't understand the allure of something like that. I'm trying to think of other things I don't like. Oh, I don't like sweet potatoes. Except I have had sweet potato pie before, but I don't know why I don't like sweet potatoes. It was something, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. You know why? Because I don't think potatoes should be sweet. Like, I don't understand fruit on meat and stuff like that. Like, when people I have made a pork tenderloin with like a raspberry or an orange sauce on it, that I make with Worcestershire and orange sauce. But the idea of actually putting actually pieces of fruit onto meat, I just don't understand. Julia says she has sweet potatoes every night. Well, then I don't have to. Because you're keeping the sweet potatoes all sweet and potatoey, Julie. Maybe you can convince me to love them. You probably could. Hey, Dr. Keith Ablow is going to be on with me in just a little bit about Trump RX. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Common Sense Radio.
Want to work with a winner? Follow the multiplier. 279 times growth in total market cap in the past nearly 30 years. 50 times growth in client assets. And ranked the #1 wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Choose a winner. Choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
JC's Wayback Machine.
We play all the great music the big corporate radio stations can't, because they only get their same 300 songs to beat into the ground. Plus, we'll get you warmed up for Sunday's game, and our A-list interview of the week is with the host of the very first big NFL pregame show, the NFL Today, Brent Musburger. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Why has Steph's Pizza become the place to go for St. Louis-style pizza, appetizers, salads, and pastas? One taste and you'll know. Dine-in, pickup, delivery, even DoorDash. Locally owned and operated with legendary pizza and a new location in Lake St. Louis at 111 Palm Fort Trail. In St. Peter's, St. Charles, and the original Stephanitas in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Steph's Pizza is proud to be part of the News Talk STL family. Check them out at stephspizza.com. And remember, tonight's a good night for Steph's Pizza.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Speaking to David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, tell Chris and I about Waymo, these robo-taxis.
That is pretty obvious that these cars are much safer than human-driven cars. And much like I like horses, I like humans.
Dave, my God, man, they're killing cats.
I'm not an expert, but I do believe in the history of America that probably some human driving a car has also run over a cat.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington.
The Justice Department says a key participant in the deadly 2012 attack on the U.S. compound in Benghazi, Libya, has been taken into custody. It will be prosecuted in connection with the crime. FBI Director Kash Patel says he was on hand to receive the suspect.
I was at the airfield with U.S. Attorney Pirro earlier this morning when we did the formal foreign transfer of custody of Bakush into U.S. custody to face prosecution under her auspices and her office. And the Department of Justice are going to execute justice for the fallen.
Zubair al-Bakush had been wanted by the U.S. for more than a decade and is accused in a newly unsealed indictment of joining an armed mob that crashed the gates of the diplomatic compound. U.S. and Russian negotiators have discussed their expired nuclear pact and talked about the need for a new one. We get more details on those talks from White House correspondent Greg Clugston.
The START treaty, dating back to the Cold War, expired this week, leaving no caps on the two largest atomic arsenals for the first time in decades. The lack of an agreement has fueled fears of an unconstrained nuclear arms race. President Trump says he wants a modernized pact instead of extending the old one, which he claims was badly negotiated by the United States. And he wants China to be a part of a new agreement, again accusing Beijing of covert nuclear tests. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A deputy chief of Russia's military intelligence has been shot and wounded in Moscow. Correspondent Lawrence Brooks has more.
The attack follows a series of assassinations of senior military officers that Russia blames on Ukraine. Authorities say Lieutenant General Vladimir Alexeyev was shot several times at an apartment building in Moscow's northwest and was hospitalized, but they didn't say who could be behind the attack.
That is Lawrence Brooks reporting on Wall Street. The Dow right now up by 1,033 points. More from townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Now that we're finally into the new year, a lot of us are thinking about taxes, home projects we've been putting off, ways to get ahead financially in 2026. Now's the perfect time to talk to my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. If you want to lower your mortgage payment, they can help you refinance. If you need access to cash for home improvements or to wipe out high-interest debt, their fixed-rate line of credit is one of the best tools out there. Fast approval, predictable rate, and flexibility to use your home's equity wisely. Remember, many people still qualify to skip their next two mortgage payments. Imagine starting big projects or paying down debt with 2 months of breathing room. My family and I have used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Take control of 2026. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE. That's 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans. Mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers. DBA Fellowship Home Loans. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 819382.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Well, the clouds will be on the increase a little bit this afternoon, but still a nice day with a high in the upper 40s. Those temperatures are going to level off and actually drop off a little bit late this afternoon into this evening. So upper 40s, we're melting some snow, and that's all that really matters. I think it brief step backwards with high temperatures tomorrow in the mid 30s. But then we're in the 50s on Sunday and sunny skies. Should be a dry weekend, too. I'm First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
42% of Missouri fourth graders can barely read. 42%. It's the worst result in 20 years. If kids can't read by third grade, they fall behind in school, and many never catch up. But other states have provided a roadmap for success. Missouri needs one universal reading test for all third graders and one clear statewide standard for what it means to pass that test. A struggling reader who still can't read after extra help and a second chance at the test should repeat third grade with some exemptions. We also need to end the outdated 3Qing method, which encourages guessing instead of reading, and require teachers to be trained in the science of reading. In Mississippi and Indiana, test scores jumped up dramatically after these reforms, and Missouri can do the same. Missouri children deserve to become confident, capable readers, and strong early literacy reforms can make it happen. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by the Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hi, it's Chris Arps, and I've been a customer of Royal Banks Missouri for many years. They're a full-service, locally owned and operated community bank with 17 locations throughout the St. Louis area, including locations in Hannibal, Jerseyville, Granite City, as well as 2 locations in St. Charles. Plus, given today's headlines in the overall banking industry, it is reassuring to know Royal Banks of Missouri has the highest financial ratings in St. Louis for stability and strength. Royal Banks of Missouri is reinvesting in its hometown University City. They've now opened the doors to their new location at 8550 Olive Boulevard at the corner of Olive and McKnight. Stop by to see their refreshed look with the same exceptional Royal Bank service you know and trust. Learn more about the move in University City by visiting royalbanksofmo.com today. That's Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank for your community. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy 3 martini lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here on this fancy Friday. Aston over there. We got kicked off of Facebook, did we? Yeah, well. It's the Facebook Music Police. Boss, he's playing Brett Eldridge. Yeah. Cut him off. Turn him off. Turn his page off. Yes, boss. Little tattletales. Hall monitors. Babies. I'll have you know, Brett Eldridge doesn't mind when I play his music, but you do. Brett Eldridge is appreciative of me. Of me lacing this amazing show with good music and things like that. That's what the show is known for. You guys all always love my eclectic taste, don't you? Yes, of course you do. Did you see the Washington Post? And this is really so sweet, and this is so great. Well, first of all, what did the fired Washington Post reporters do after they were fired? Well, of course you know what they did. They decided they were going to go and protest like all leftists seem to do.
We do. Who makes the post? We do. Who makes the post? We do. Who makes the post? We do.
Can you believe this? I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, first of all, in what industry where you do have layoffs or firings, do the laid off or fired workers go and protest? It doesn't happen in any other industry but the news media, where these people absolutely feel like they are an integral part of society. You know, they're the ones that came up with the term fourth estate. It's like, fourth estate, my rear. Oh, we're the fourth estate. It's like, no, you're not. Who told you that? Yeah, we are. Who's the Post?
Who makes the post? We do. Who makes the post? We do.
Yeah, well, not anymore, you don't. And here's what happened, and this is really super interesting. So, first of all, you know the Washington Post won a Pulitzer Prize for a completely fake story. And now the Post, this is really a sweet one. So the Post sent layoff notices to at least 14 climate journalists as a part of a massive round of cost cutting. So 300 of these so-called journalists lost their jobs. About 30% of the Washington Post completely laid off. So here's the problem. The layoffs, the people who are protesting, the layoffs actually would be their fault because they have contributed to a media outlet that nobody wants to take part in. It's their fault nobody reads the Washington Post. It's their fault there's no appetite for any of the Washington Post stories because of the bias that Jeff Bezos gently pointed out to them a while back and said, hey, you guys might want to do this, because he warned them. He had that meeting, I think this was it, a year ago or something like that, 6 months ago, where he warned them and he said, hey, you guys need to put together a more attractive presentation so that you can make money. And he didn't tell them, because this is implicit in what he was saying. He didn't tell them, hey, and by the way, your jobs will probably depend on it, because we can't keep hemorrhaging dollars at this thing and keeping you guys employed when you're not helping us make any money. Advertisers aren't part of this whole deal anymore. A lot of them are going away. And, these people are not owed the welfare of a journalism job. You have to do things that make you an asset to the company. That's what you have to do. When you're nobody in any kind of line of work who costs the company more money than that person is bringing to the company, that is a losing proposition. That's what happens. And so if you're not doing something that is productive in terms of bringing in income to the place where you work, then you're no longer an asset. You're a liability. You're a drain on the resources. And if you can imagine, they laid off 14 climate change journalists. And you know how many they had? 19. 19 reporters solely on the climate change beat. Pretty crazy, huh? I mean, maybe that's kind of the problem, too, is that you had 19 human beings whose sole job at the Washington Post was reporting on the nonsense baloney known as climate change. 19. So, Bezos is probably like, what? Really? So anyway, they're all out there protesting and beyond. Meanwhile, another person who calls himself a journalist is Don Lemon. And Don Lemon appeared on Lemon Live at 5 is what he had. And he talked about J.D. Vance, because J.D. Vance had a comment in the wake of the Preddy shooting, whatever. And so Don Lemon is all hooked on that, even though Don Lemon is a racist Antifa terrorist and not a journalist. And he decides he's going to go after J.D. Vance, and wait till you hear what he has to say here.
This is a vile human being. Let me tell you why. Because it's not that hard, even if you disagree with what Alex Preddy did. And I don't know how many people who do. They pretend to, but they understand what was going on. All he would have to say is, and it doesn't matter, it's not about the investigation. It's about being a human being. It's about having empathy, and it's about having, it's actually about being, if you are a real Christian, like I am.
Can you believe that? If you're a real Christian like I am, dude, and this is what's so crazy, as during that one little, when he was accosting that minister who was in the church, he claimed that he was, Don Lemon claimed that he was a Christian too. But believe me, Christians don't terrorize people going to church. I think that's pretty easy for us to determine as a conclusion that Christians don't do that. The odd thing is that the funny thing about that is that that's something that Muslims do, some of them. That's something that people like Boko Haram does. They go into churches even while they're actually church-going people too, apparently, but they just simply kill other religions and Christians and beyond. So Don Lemon is no different than some Boko Haram terrorist. And the idea that somehow he's, more Christian than J.D. Vance or whatever, and we don't need to even get into the discussion about it, but that's really what he's trying to say.
What you would say is that I am sorry, no one should die that way. I am sorry for his family.
Yeah. So now Don Lemon, apparently, who has not apologized in any way, shape, or form for what he did in that church with children crying in fear. People thinking that somebody's going to shoot them in the church, because generally that's kind of when people invade a church, generally there are people who are like, that usually results in a shooting. I mean, that's just kind of, I'm sure some of these people thought that they were going to get shot when these people rammed into the church. So, that's pretty hardcore. And so you get to that point where Don Lemon has never apologized for that. Never. And you have all these people continuing to kind of prop him up and everything else. I'm going to repeat my story because somebody was mentioning they missed me talking about Don Lemon in St. Louis. A lot of you did not know that Don Lemon at one point was working for Channel 2. And I was at a few news conferences with Don Lemon while I was kicking his ass in broadcasting, because he didn't win any awards here in town. But Don Lemon was the most arrogant, egomaniacal reporter on the planet. I was in the business. I was at Channel 4 for 14 years, and during that time in my career, and my career even before that in TV, before I got to St. Louis, I had never known a bigger a-hole than Don Lemon. And pretty much a lot of people at CNN feel the same way about him, especially the women there. I mean, you've got Jim Acosta and some of his other buddies who were going and defending him and everything else. But for the most part, Don Lemon is just generally not well liked in the industry. I think a lot of people kind of assume that somehow he's got some kind of power or whatever. But the reality is most people, when they spend 5 minutes around Don Lemon, realize that he is a narcissistic, egomaniacal creep. And that's why even CNN couldn't stand him, which is why they got rid of him. But, man, I remember, man, he was so uppity. He had his nose so far up in the air when he was at these news conferences and things. I just remember that. I remember, like, thinking to myself, who is this dude, Because he wasn't even any good at what he did in local television. He was the laziest of the bunch. And so I don't think there's anybody in St. Louis or in the St. Louis media who has anything nice to say about Don Lemon. So I was surprised he got as far as he did in broadcasting, especially reaching up to CNN. All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up, guess what? I've got my buddy Dr. Keith Ablow, who is going to be joining me. We're going to talk about Trump RX. You talk about consequential things happening this week. That was one of them. It's going to dramatically change the way you are or how much you are paying for medicines, because up until, yesterday, we were basically subsidizing Europeans and Latin Americans because their medicines were always lower in price. Not anymore. It's Common Sense Radio. Happy Fancy Friday. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, time's a-ticking for Valentine's Day. And, it's always really fun to give somebody something playful for Valentine's Day. And I got an idea for you. How about the stacker rings? How about getting her a couple of stacker rings? Diana can tell you all about them. Diana Newstetter at Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. She says, famously, that she can make a hero out of you for $250. And with the stacker rings, that's a perfectly accessible type of item for you. These are rings that can be mixed and matched. They have. She showed me them when I was there last time, and they have these really cool, beautiful stones in them. You could do the diamonds, you could do the emeralds, you could do any kind of stone. They've got a ton of different choices for you. And what happens is you start the collection of stackers. So you give her a couple stackers for Valentine's Day, and then she can wear one or both, or she can mix them up, do whatever. And then as time goes on, you kind of keep on adding to the stacker ring collection, and it becomes a really fun, playful accessory for the clothing and everything else. And women seem to adore that flexibility when it comes to their jewelry. Also, tons of gold there, and they always get the best quality gold you're going to find. Gold is actually back in, so that's pretty cool too. And, of course, the diamonds. They've got the lab-grown diamonds, which are absolutely beautiful, and that's where the wow comes, and the mine diamonds as well. That's why we say wowdiamonds.com, because Jackie Newstetter, when she seeing the diamonds, is like, wow. And that's exactly the story about those. So, and ladies, here's the thing. You can go in, and I would suggest you go in this weekend, today, whatever. You can go in and look around and maybe even pick something out, because there's also really great gemstone jewelry there as well. Pick something out, and then what you could do is go ahead and write down on a piece of paper what it is you want. And that is the wish list, because that's what Newssetters does. They have a wish list, which is really cool. So when your guy is kind of like trying to figure out what you might want or what might make you feel loved on Valentine's Day, you can tell him, go to Newstetter's Fine Jewelry, Doherty Ferry in Big Bend, wowdiamonds.com, and check out the wish list. And they have a layaway program too, but you're probably not going to need that as we head into this week when Valentine's Day is fast approaching. But they do have a layaway program for your future needs. It's old school. Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. Richard's been in the business since he was 17 years old, working for the world-famous Jackards Jewelers, and that's really cool, too. And he's one of the few remaining master engravers. So if you need something engraved or whatever, he can go ahead and get that done for you. wowdiamonds.com, wowdiamonds.com.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIglobal.com.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. As we follow the important issues facing Jefferson County, if you want to stay informed on Jeffco politics, especially in this all-important midterm election year, make sure to tune in this and every Sunday at high noon here on News Talk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
If it's a big story in Jefferson County, you'll hear about it on Jeffco Patriot Radio. Sundays at noon on News Talk STL.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime.
News Talk STL right on my phone.
Anywhere.
We now return you to the Motion Worker album, which is already in progress.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Allman Report. It's a fancy Friday, and it's Common Sense Radio. Time for the third martini, too. You guys know after my interview yesterday with Steve Schlanger of NBC Sports, right? He's going to be covering cross-country skiing, first event tomorrow. Starting Monday, right through Friday the 20th, News Talk STL have 26 winter game updates throughout the day, every weekday. Keep you updated on the daily medal counts and stories about local athletes making America proud. Thank you, Best Buy Flooring and Corel Roofing, for your sponsorship of this. And also memories. So I told you guys a while back, maybe you missed it. So Monday is my daughter Katie's 34th birthday. And 34 years ago, remember bringing her home from the hospital. And for the next week, we were watching the Winter Olympics from Albertville. So, Katie always reminds me of the Winter Olympics, among many other things. And one of the people that's going to be kind of fun to watch, because, you know, the stories, as we talked about with Steve Schlanger, the stories of the athletes, there's so many great stories sometimes to be told. And I love the stories. And this is crazy, right? So Lindsey Vonn, you know Lindsey Vonn, the skier. So she did she tore her ACL, and she completed her first downhill training run this morning. So she wants to, and people are like, "You've got to be kidding me!" So they're watching it. They're watching her do her first training run this morning, and they're like, "Wait a minute! Didn't you just rupture your ACL?" So anyway, she is absolutely committed to returning to the Olympics. At some point, there was worry that she would just never come back, because that's really a hard thing. But she.
Turn up by a tenth of a second. And I got to remind you, it's that left knee that she has now put a brace onto, where she has hurt the ligament, torn the ACL. But she says she feels strong in it. She's been skiing about, big flight, gets a little bit late and low coming into Romerlo. She knows this track well. She has 12 victories in total on the slopes here.
So that's really cool. She's doing jumps and everything else. It's like, it's just incredible. And what a story. So if she winds up medaling or doing whatever, it's going to be really, really cool. So that's one of the stories we'll be keeping you up to date on throughout the week here at News Talk STL. And in the meantime, did you see that random thing going on with the Savannah Guthrie's brother? So he did a videotape yesterday, and I'm thinking to myself, why? Why did he do this videotape yesterday? Thought about it a little bit more, because I think what's going to happen is her sister is going to do one too. And you know what's going on here? I think I know what's going on here. I think that the FBI and these folks are kind of starting to play a little game. As you noticed during the news conference, they didn't rule. They're like, we're not ruling anybody out. So at this point, it's getting a little desperate. So at this point, what's happening is, I think they're saying, hey, can you go ahead and read this? This might help the investigation. And they're doing it so that they can observe their facial expressions. They can observe their blinks. They can do all this kind of stuff without actually having to really put them under the hot lights in any way, shape, or form. They could just, I think what they're doing is they're testing out some behavioral things And the best way they can do it is by engaging the cooperation of them in finding their mom, doing videotapes and everything else, when actually he cuts that videotape, and they've got all kinds of experts who are reviewing the video and looking for any kind of clues. That's what I think is happening. So we'll see what happens. And if Annie does it, the sister, you'll know what they're up to. But it was very random just to see him pop out of nowhere and do that videotape. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Keith Ablow joins me right now, and I'm really happy. We always have great discussions. Love having him on. Very entertaining and informative. And I asked Dr. Keith if he could come on and talk to us about Trump RX. And, hey, by the way, I did say this because I think this is going to help people, Dr. Keith Ablow. First of all, welcome. Happy Friday to you, my friend.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. Pleasure being here.
Yeah. So I was talking earlier about, I don't want to be like an old man, talk about my medical, maladies, whatever. But I was telling them, sharing with them a story about high cholesterol and the fact that I have high cholesterol, even though I had a heart scan and everything's fine. And my good cholesterol is absolutely through the roof. But still, overall, I have high cholesterol. And so I've been trying to investigate things because I don't want to take a statin. So because I don't really need to at this level right now, but I don't want to because I think that's like a scam anyway. And so I've been trying to figure out ways to reduce my cholesterol naturally. What would you suggest, my friend?
Well, garlic is known to reduce cholesterol naturally. Fiber intake, so a fiber capsule or supplement is known to reduce cholesterol naturally. Omega-3 fatty acids thought to have an effect as well. And so there are a number of different supplements that can take you down that path. Now, red yeast rice is another one of them. They sell capsules of that. But be aware that is, in fact, a cholesterol-lowering agent, not unlike the Lipitor family. So it is similar to a pharmaceutical. It's just naturally occurring. So you can get some of the same side effects like muscle aches, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to be careful with that one.
Yeah.
But it happens to be a natural supplement. But, so garlic, fiber, there's also a supplement I'm not involved with it called Cholestoff, which basically helps to defeat the absorption of cholesterol in the gut so that it can't be part of your bloodstream.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I've heard of those. Yeah. I've heard of that.
Yeah. And so there's a lot out there, along with, by the way, exercise, losing a little bit of weight, exercise. You can get your cholesterol down without a statin if you adopt multiple different strategies. And then, you make a decision. Is that enough? And what do you think of the statins and the rest of it?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I was because they were looking for a plaque buildup, whatever, and I wound up pretty low on that level, which is great. But to keep it from coming getting up there, and so I'm already crushing the white anchovies and the. I think we talked about this in the mackerel. I've got the garbanzo beans all over the place, and so I'm kind of doing that kind of thing. All right. So anyway,
awesome.
What did you think about yesterday and the Trump RX announcement?
I think it's terrific because people needed a one-stop shop where they could go direct to manufacturers and buy medicines, hopefully in increasing numbers, at lower pricing than is often offered through insurances. And so as the number of these agents swells and as some pressure is put on manufacturers to not exploit America, not charge Americans so much more than other countries, the citizens of other countries, those prices can come down for an increasing number of medicines. And so it's like a gathering of those medications where you basically get a code, a coupon code, you bring it to your pharmacy, and you're actually paying cash. Now, it's only for those who would pay cash and not use insurance, and yet the prices can be lower than if you did use insurance. And it's all in one place. There are programs like this that are truncated, that are in all different, locations and scattered. But assembling them all on one website is genius.
Yeah, I hear the website's really nice too. Like it's a real well put together. It's not like the Obamacare website was when it crashed. It apparently is pretty nice. And what? So what contributed mostly to the high cost of drugs in this country, as opposed to the cost of drugs in Europe and even, for that matter, South America?
Well, I'm sure they're looking at what the market will bear and what insurance companies will pay as well. There's something called the 80-20 rule in America that says that insurance companies can only keep 20% as profit of more than what they spend on Americans' health care. So they're limited to, say, a 20% margin. Now, if they spend more, therefore, on patient medicines and procedures and treatments, that 20% is a bigger number. And they can pass that along to consumers in the form of their payments, right? Monthly payments and drug prices. So there isn't a lot of motivation on the part of insurers to limit costs of anything. In fact, they're allowed to make more if the costs are higher. That's a problem, this 80-20 rule. And that probably should be looked at as to whether that should still be there. Other than that, it's really a question of, well, what will the market bear? What are the limitations placed by governments on them, et cetera? We're a very free economy. Good, fine. But there's got to be some sense of balance. Like, we can't be supporting the entire world through the prices we pay for medicine so that we pay to reimburse the enormous costs, by the way, of drug discovery. And then it's available to countries all over the world at a fraction of the cost. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, for a while there, I know there was a push more towards the generic drugs or whatever. And then I think during Obama's time, if I'm not mistaken, you can flesh this out for me, but during Obama's time, there was just the paperwork that needed to be done to put a generic drug on the market was so oppressively expensive, it almost became really not a winning proposition to even work on a generic drug.
Well, right, and we've got to pave the way for that. I mean, these things stay on patent for, a number of years, which is appropriate, by the way, because until we can somehow mitigate the cost of drug discovery, the number of years involved, there can be an investment of hundreds of millions of dollars to come out with a new pharmaceutical, and then folks, the clock is ticking on that, and they have to recoup their investment as quickly as possible, or they feel they do, because the patent's running, and it will be generic at some point. And so we've got to look at this as like a multidisciplinary, multifaceted problem. One step was taken by the president and Mehmet Oz, and now Trump RX, which is to say, well, what if we went directly to the manufacturers and they said, okay, we will make these available at lower cost? And I'm sure there'll be an ongoing effort to have more and more medicines there.
Yeah, I would imagine, because what you're hoping is, obviously that would help lower the prices anyway. And then, interestingly enough, because I know that you talk a lot, and I do too, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talks a lot about more make America healthy again and more natural ways to resolve issues. You and I just talked about lowering cholesterol through diet and exercise as opposed to popping a pill. And so I don't think this Trump RX really conflicts with that movement. I mean, there are people who absolutely need medicine. I mean, it's or a pill or what have you. It's not everything is, eat some celery or do whatever.
Absolutely. And it's individual choice. So there are some people who are not going to go the natural route, and or they can't because it might be that there aren't those alternatives available for their particular condition. So then it becomes a question of cost, and people are up against it, and it's really a tremendous thing to have the government start to say, well, in the context of free enterprise without violating any of that. Let's see if companies will participate through couponing, essentially, and reduce the cost of these sometimes very effective medicines for Americans. So this is a great start. It's a crack in the ice, and somebody had to do something. So this is a president who gets things done.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, it's really it's crazy because he's constantly in this state of hold my beer. You know what I mean? It's like really amazing to watch this because this should have happened a long time ago. And Dr. Keith Ablow, to what do you attribute the fact that it hasn't happened? And I know one of the factors is the fact that the pharmaceutical industry, if I'm not mistaken, is the number one contributor to political campaigns.
Well, I think that's a big factor that nobody has wanted to step on their toes. And I think also we haven't had an entrepreneurial, business-minded, deal-making president of this kind. I could almost put a period on that. This is some people love him, some people don't like him, but I think most people would have to agree, well, this is somebody who thinks creatively about ways to make deals that other presidents have not historically. And so he's action-oriented, and because he's a business person, he's able to say, well, wait a second, let's figure out a way to reduce costs that increases competition, increases price pressure on insurance companies. If you want folks to buy things through the use of their insurance, if you want them to go to the traditional pharmacy route, then you got to compete, and these prices will have to come down. So this is one way to make that happen because the money that's going to these manufacturers is going directly to them, and that's how it is. And so that can reduce the price dramatically. That means that there can be an enormous number of these medicines that ultimately fill up Trump RX, where you can go and you can say, listen, I'm already paying hundreds in a copay for this medicine. Here it is for cash for less. Yeah, because you were caught in a net, a complicated, almost inexplicable net of insurance company policies and prepays and deals with pharmacies, et cetera, where they're not always, in fact, they're not really incentivized to keep prices low.
Very
They're
interesting.
actually perversely incentivized to keep them high.
Yeah, that's crazy with that 80-20 and everything else. All right, Dr. Keith Ablow, tell me about Trump Your Life. You guys, it's a book. It's available on Amazon. It's called Trump Your Life. Keith Ablow, Ablow, and you can also get it at Target. I'm like, I didn't even realize Target had a book section, but they do apparently. I guess it's where the magazines are too.
They do.
I know, that's very cool. So tell me about Trump Your Life.
So Trump Your Life is 25 traits of the president expanded into chapters that people may well want to internalize. Christian Josie and I, my co-author, looked at the president and said, well, here are 25 characteristics of the person, having studied him, that people could emulate, absorb, and which would strengthen them and the way that they see themselves, the way that they see the world around them, their focus on being effective, on getting down to brass tacks and the truth, not cowering in the face of challenges. So it's a self-help book based on the president's characteristics.
That's really so cool. And because it's so amazing because I am so enamored with his personality and his style, and it's always so shocking to me. I think the number of people who he makes crazy and who can't stand him and everything else, and all I could think of is he's for these people who don't like him a kind of Rorschach test, a walking Rorschach test to a certain degree, because it says more about the people who hate him than him. So when they hate him, it says a lot about them. I don't know whether it's their history with their dad or whatever. I can remember my mom telling me, because my mom did not like President Trump at all. And I love her, but we had conversations about this. But my mom, and she was 96, and she's I don't know. But anyway, I made fun of that, and we kind of teased each other about it all the time, and had great discussions, about it. And so I one time said, I know why you don't like him, because he reminds you of Dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Because my dad
You're
was
like a psychiatrist yourself.
yeah, because they got divorced. And my dad was like one of those Mad Men '60s type of guys, that
Sure.
had that kind of madman swagger. And I think and they didn't get along in that sense. And so I think that I'm telling you, half these people out there who hate him, if you looked at their families or whatever, it's probably deeply seated somewhere in their psyche. I don't know what it is.
Right. I think that's true. I think it is sort of like a Rorschach test. This is somebody who is not in the mold of a traditional politician. His physical mannerisms are different. What he eats is different. His turns of phrase are different. He's very honest, I believe. He's very forthcoming with what he really thinks. And that's not the progressive, if you will, parlance.
Yeah.
Where, you sort of cross your legs and you wear, designer clothes and this and that, and you are very careful with what you say, very scripted. This is not a scripted person. This is an off-the-cuff fellow who says what he thinks, means what he says, and who looks at the world and says, well, wait a second. Here are the facts. I don't want to maintain any mythology. I don't want to pretend that this nation isn't powerful enough to achieve its ends in a deal when we are. There's a diplomacy aspect of it, but look, here are the facts, and we don't want to be taken advantage of. And that kind of directness offends many people. It especially offends people who don't feel effective themselves.
Yeah, right. I noticed. I think there's a lot of beta males who are very intimidated by his very existence. I think it's because it kind of reminds them that they're beta males. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But you know what? One of my favorite, regarding his authenticity, one of my favorite things I think I've ever seen him do in a speech was when he talked about how somebody suggested maybe he should get a dog. And he said to the audience, he goes, listen, I know you guys love your dogs, but can you see me walking a dog? No, it's so fake to me, because they were talking about Obama with his dogs and all that kind of stuff. He goes, I don't have time, it's whatever. But he was very honest about that. And it's not that he hated dogs. It was just like, he was like, can you imagine me walking a dog? And we're like,
right.
Actually,
Like,
no,
he's very
we can't.
busy.
Yeah, right.
He's very busy. I mean, the dog could come and greet him at the helicopter, but he'd be like playing with the dog and giving it a kiss and then hurrying up to get some work done.
Right.
Right, and stay up half the night or all night. So yeah, there's no window dressing.
Yeah.
That's what I think folks don't quite grasp. People who love him appreciate that. People who have an issue with him want him to be somehow scripted, tailored to their liking, non-offensive, not with sharp angles. Well, these are sharp angles. If you bump into him, he might cut you, but he's doing it on behalf of the nation. What a nice thing. We've got the right guy in the right time in the right place.
Yeah, and I think also, interestingly enough, as swaggerly and confident as he is, there still is a level of vulnerability that I sense about him, which I think is actually charming and interesting. But I see that too.
I think there's humor there, and there's love for his family, and there's an appreciation that there are people who need help in the world, and an appreciation for heroism and courage. And so, yes, I agree with you. This is a guy who you wouldn't say, well, I don't see, how could he possibly be a grandfather? Well, no, he loves his family.
Yeah.
He's embraced by them. They obviously have an incredible degree of admiration and love for him. And so you can't fake that. Like, that's just not something that will happen if you didn't earn it.
Yeah, well, it's a great idea, and I got to get this. I got to look at this because it's called Trump Your Life, folks, and based on the traits of President Trump's personality, how you can self-improve by adopting some of those traits, and I love it, and I also think it's great. Like, I've got a 21-year-old son, and
perfect.
an 18-year-old daughter, and 15-year-old daughter. I think it's great for young people too, because some of us have already blown the chance to do some of that stuff. But for the younger guys, it's a great idea. So I really appreciate that. Called Trump Your Life, and you guys can find it on Amazon or at Target or all fine bookstores, I am sure. Well, Dr. Keith Ablow, where can people get a hold of you if they would like to?
Just go to keithablow.com. So it's keithablow.com. There's a link, or you can simply email me, info@keithablow.com. And I love helping people to make the most out of their lives. And so I'm here for whomever might contact me.
Yeah, you've done some great work, and your accessibility is wonderful. And thank you so much for being on the show. And I look forward to continuing to talk to you down the line, my friend.
Thanks, Jamie. Talk to you soon.
All right, that is Dr. Keith Ablow. What a great idea that's a great book idea, right? And plus, I also would like to read it and look at it because I would like to know what Dr. Ablow and his co-author found in looking at in breaking down President Trump's personality traits. So that's very, very cool. Love it. All right, guess what, people? The Dow has hit 50,000. Rick Pogue, our business guru, just texted me. What did he say? He said, I was only a month off. Let me see. My prediction was only 1 month off. Yeah, so back on the day on the show, a month ago, Rick Pogue predicted 50,000. And he's only a month off. That's why he's the Allman Report business guru, right? And Rick believes that Trump RX is the reason for the jump in the Dow. So there you go. Hold My Beer strikes again. It's Common Sense Radio.
(2026) a great time to visit Lit Cigar Lounge. The Lit Cigar Facebook has numerous events from tastings to music. My main reason for going to Lit is always quality cigars, premium whiskeys. Odds are we'll see each other at Lit Cigar Lounge. A few doors down, Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta. Get a pizza baked over coals. Excellent crust and flavor. Or choose one of the many great pasta dishes. You won't leave hungry. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta and Lit Cigar Lounge in the Chesterfield Valley.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Columbo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Fancy Friday to all of you and yours. It's Common Sense Radio. So we all know that Benghazi was like one of the, it wasn't the first lie we were told, whatever, but it was kind of the beginning of a new modern era of just bald-faced bull crappery. And that's when Barack Obama blamed the Benghazi attack on a YouTube video. That's the YouTube video. And then what happened is, remember that time, and all these people in the news surrounded this guy's house who put the YouTube video up there, and we knew that was a lie. It's kind of like you fast forward to COVID, and when they talked about bat soup, like I automatically knew they were lying to us. Oh, it came from bat soup. It's like, no. It was the modern version of the, Benghazi happened because of a YouTube video. It's like, yeah, whatever. So now Pam Bondi has announced that they've arrested one of the participants behind the Benghazi attack. Wonder why that hadn't happened before.
On September 11th, 2012, Americans watched horrified as our embassy in Benghazi came under a vicious terror attack. We lost 4 American lives that day. Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith with the State Department, and 2 CIA contractors, Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods. We have never forgotten those heroes, and we have never stopped seeking justice for that crime against our nation. In fact, from day one, Cash and Dan would sit in meetings and say, we're going to get them, and they did. Today, I'm proud to announce that the FBI has arrested one of the key participants behind the Benghazi attack. Zubair al-Bakash landed at Andrews Air Force Base at 3 a.m. this morning. He is in our custody. He was greeted by Director Patel and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and I can't wait till we can find out more about what actually transpired, because ultimately what's going to happen is they're going to get some more information about this, because I do believe the ambassador was set up by somebody in the United States of America, and we just don't know who. But if this goes back to Hillary Clinton, it's going to be something. You know what I'm saying? Because their word is this ambassador might have known something that Hillary didn't want him to know, but we'll see. Hey, Tony Colombo and Company, straight ahead. Thank you, Ashlyn. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. It's Common Sense Radio.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.